Hello, my random viewers, and welcome to Randomly Offensive. Today, we will be talking about the story of Miguel Caballero Rojo from the Tekken franchise. This will be a one-video story, for he debuted in Tekken 6, and so he only has 2 games that he's in, and he's not even a huge part of Tekken 7. So with that being said, I wanted to apologize for taking a 4-day hiatus, because I did not have time to get into the studio. And after doing my Breakfast Wars video, I ran out of scripts. And so I needed to make more scripts for Tekken, finish some scripts that I had for Tekken, and fix some scripts that I also had for Tekken because my continuity got lost a little bit within Brian Fury, so there's a lot of fixing I needed to do, a lot of editing that I needed to do onto those scripts for the future, on top of making another script for Breakfast Wars, on top of trying to figure out an idea for another story after Breakfast Wars, because Breakfast Wars is not going to be as long as Tekken, because it is a stupid story, and it's my first original, so I'm using it as a practice round for actual stories in the future. So I just ran out of scripts, and I needed to make more, and I just did not have time to record. So hopefully I did not lose my viewerships being gone for 4 days, and if you guys are still watching, thank you very, very much. Do please consider hitting the like and subscribe button if you like the content I'm throwing out. With that being said, let's kick it off with Miguel Caballero Rojo. Such a weird name. Now, Miguel has the makings to be an amazing character. He also has the potential to be a main character, a vital character in the Tekken series. Though he debuted in Tekken 6, and he was only in 2 games, and the Tekken 8 installment will be the last installment, which we've yet to get, meaning he's only going to be in 3 games when the Tekken franchise is finally over, meaning he'll never have that chance to be a vital character or a main character, but he definitely has the makings for it, which makes him an exciting character to talk about, and a very good character to talk about. With that being said, he is not the tragic character of King. He is not the mysterious character of Lee. He's not the fun character of Lai or Paul Phoenix Law, martial law. And he is also not a evil villain like Brian Fury or Kazuha Mishima. He's also not the hidden hero of Heihachi Mishima, and he's not the straight-up hero like Lars or Jin Kazuma. He is kind of a mixed bag of all of these characters, which you'd think would make a horrible character, but it makes him a very good character. It's one of those rare cases where just throwing all these ingredients in one bowl actually makes a very decent tasting cake. So, with that being said, Miguel's story starts with him being in a very, very strict family with 2 very, very strict parents, which you would think would make a very disciplined young man, but that is not the case with Miguel Caballero Rojo. Instead, he has a very bloodthirsty personality and is consistently getting into fights at school, consistently snapping the jaws of his classmates, consistently breaking the ribs of his classmates. And part of that reasoning is him defending his sister and protecting his sister, who is the only person he loves, the only person he cares about, and the only person he trusts is his sister, on top of protecting his own honor and his own pride and defending himself from bullying, because his temper just flips like the light of a switch, and he sees red as soon as he's pissed off, and has no control over his body, and has no say on what his body's about to do to the poor sap that pissed him off in the first place. And so after countless arguments, after countless slandering and fights between his parents, he decides to leave his home at the age of 15. Now, this does not take place in America, it takes place in a different country. Miguel lives in a different country, so he finds refuge at a bar that he visits constantly, and so that is his form of having shelter, food, but also alcohol to cope with the fact that he is a self-made orphan and walked away from his family. His sister, on the other hand, visits him all the time with out the knowledge of her parents, and so their relationship continues to grow. And throughout the years, Miguel is frozen in this lifestyle. He's frozen in place, not living his life. His life is not moving forward, but his sister's life is moving forward. She's going on with her life, and so she ends up getting engaged and is about to get married, and she tells Miguel that she's going to get married to a man. And Miguel is so angry that someone is stealing his sister away from her, he shows his bloodthirsty personality because he is about to go and kill this man. And the only reason he doesn't kill this guy is because he knows it will bring pain and suffering to his sister. So he decides to say goodbye to his sister, and on the day of her wedding, he does not go into the church because he does not want to cause a fight between her parents and him on her big day. So he sets up a blanket and brings a basket of fruit, a bottle of wine, and a wine glass, and he watches the church, watching his sister get married in the distance, and he pours himself a glass of wine and holds it up as a toast to her, and jets fly by almost as an honorable celebration. And Miguel thinks that the timing of the jets flying by is perfect, but unbeknownst to him, this is an airstrike directly from the Tekken Force led by Jin Kazuma, and this is going to be an event that starts World War III, and these jets fly by and deliver an airstrike, dropping bombs down the line, hitting the church, causing the church to ignite in explosions and flames, and it blows Miguel back. When Miguel awakes, he rushes to the church to see if his sister is still alive. As Miguel roams through the rubble looking for his sister, praying that she was not killed in the airstrike, he sees a white dress underneath some rock. And so with tremendous amounts of force, he manages to pick up this boulder of a rock, this brick wall, and as he picks it up, there lies the corpse of his sister in her wedding dress, and she has no heartbeat. The woman is dead. And so he cradles his sister in his arms and screams into the air in tremendous amounts of pain because he just lost his sister. He just lost his mother figure. He lost the woman that was the only person that meant anything to him, the only person he loved, the only person he cared about, the only person that cared about him, and the only person he trusted was now killed by this airstrike. And Miguel is screaming at the top of his lungs into the sky for as long as he possibly can while squeezing the dead body of his sister, not wanting to let her go. And he stays in the rubble of the church on his knees, holding his sister for hours and hours and hours, not being able to let her go. And so when he is finally able to let her go, he vows that he's going to find out who did this, and he's going to make them suffer, he's going to make them pay, and he's going to break every bone in their damn body. And that is the beginning story of Miguel when we go into Tekken 6. And now the story of Miguel Caballero Rojo begins. Miguel decides that the best way for him to figure out where these airstrikes came from was to watch the news. And so he goes to the bar that he had found refuge at and turns on every single TV and turns on multiple broadcast channels, multiple news broadcasting channels, and watches every single one of them over and over and over and over and over, constantly, all day, every day, for days. and he refuses to let anyone else that comes into the bar to change a channel on any of the TVs, even if they're just trying to get their mind off of World War III. He guards these remotes with his life, getting into multiple bar brawls, breaking multiple people's arms, and pulling the remotes out of their hands, and just guarding these remotes, making sure that the channels never change, making sure that he can always watch the news broadcast. And so, he finally gets confirmation that the Tekken Force was the organization that did the airstrikes, that commanded the airstrikes that killed his sister. He then gets confirmation that Jin Kazuma is the head of the Tekken Force, of the Mishima Zaibatsu. And now, Miguel watches as Jin tells the world that he has started World War III, and that nobody is his allies, no one is his friend, and that he is enemies with everybody, and that he will rule the world and have world domination. However, Miguel doesn't give a shit about the politics. He doesn't give two shits about world domination, or if he wins or if he loses. All Miguel cares about is Jin Kazuma dying by his hands so that he can avenge the death of his sister. And so Miguel then, with the information he has, leaves the bar, and he starts looking for Tekken Force scouts that are doing their routes around the streets, and he ends up beating the shit out of multiple low-level Tekken Force agents and getting information on their heads, their commanders, their chiefs. And because Miguel knows that no one's going to tell him where Jin is right off the bat, but they'll tell him where the smaller leaders are, where the smaller commanders are. And if he can fight his way up the ranks and kill his way up the ranks, he will eventually make it to Jin Kazama. Unfortunately, this is not a good plan, and it doesn't work. No one is talking. No Tekken Force soldier tells him the name of the next guy up. No one tells him who's on the next rank, who's their leading commander. He cannot get a name outside of the low levels, and this will never get him to Jin Kazama. So, he comes up with a second plan. He needs to start his own organization. He needs to start his own army. Well, how do you do that when you're not a politician, when you're not a man of power? The only way you can do that when you live on the streets is the way that Miguel does it, which is he goes in to multiple street fights after street fight after street fight and fights his way into multiple street fighting organizations. He then fights his way up to these organizations, and combining all the money he has from fighting multiple street fights in multiple street fighting organizations, he then buys those organizations. He'll buy one, and owning that one gives him enough money to buy another one, which gives him enough money to buy another one, and another one, and another one, while on top of keeping the prize money from winning all the fights that he is winning. And so he ends up owning multiple fight organization. He then unites all the street fighting organizations and makes all the street fighters and all the criminals his employees, and he starts paying them very, very well. He then branches off and starts buying drug dens and hiring drug lords to work for him to create revenue through drug deals. He also goes to other trafficking organizations that I cannot talk about on YouTube, and he gets them to join his organization. Before you know it, this man, in the midst of World War III, by the time he's done with all of this, about 7 months have passed, which is incredibly fast for starting an organization. But he did it by using fear, and he did it by using his brute force. And so now he has a very, very large criminal organization. He has his army. And so now he just needs to figure out What is a good place for him to strike? What is the best place for him to attack that will get him to Jin Kazama? What if they attack the 6th King of the Iron Fist tournament? That would surely get the attention of Jin Kazama. No, Miguel thinks not, because the 6th King of the Iron Fist tournament is just to get people's minds off of World War III. Jin Kazama is the head of the Mishima Zaibatsu, which is every single world leader's target, meaning he would not be there, and the importance of that tournament is just insignificant compared to everything else. So, Miguel continues thinking, where can he attack? Knowing that if he chooses a place too big, it'll cause his entire army to die. But he doesn't care. He doesn't care what happens to these criminal scumbags as long as he gets to kill Jin Kazama in the end. Miguel sighs in frustration because he cannot think of a good place to strike, because the first strike will be the last strike. That strike needs to be a big enough, good enough strike for him to get to Jin Kazama right then and right there, because the organization he has is a great organization, but it's only 7 months old, and he is off the radar. Jin Kazama, the rest of the world, has no idea he exists, has no idea this organization exists, but as soon as he makes a move, they will know it exists, and they will wipe it out. So, it's a one strike, one attack deal, and he's rubbing his forehead trying to figure out who and how he can do this, and his phone begins to ring. So, he looks at his phone, concerned and confused on who or how someone knows of his existence, and so he answers the phone. "Who is this?" he says, and the voice responds, "I am whoever I want to be, wherever I am needed," he says, and the phone is hung up. Miguel, not wanting to play games, hangs up on this man instantly, but the phone rings again, so he answers, "Yes, who is this?" "Whoever I want to be, wherever I'm needed." "I just told you that," says the man. And so Miguel hangs up again, but the phone rings another time. So Miguel answers, "I swear to God I'm not in the mood of playing games. Tell me who this is, and what is your deal?" he says, and the man responds, "I told you, I'm whoever I want to be, wherever I'm needed. And where I am needed is by your side." And Miguel hangs up the phone again, but the phone doesn't stop ringing. It rings over and over and over and over again, and Miguel finally just smashes the phone. But then every single phone on every single person in his organization starts ringing, and it is all by the same guy, whoever he wants to be, wherever he is needed. Miguel cannot get these phones to stop ringing. He starts smashing them, breaking them, concerned and worried that this is a man that works for Jin Kazama. And so, he begins breaking every phone he can, but there are so many phones in the world. Every time Miguel walks past a random person on the street, the phone that person has starts ringing. They answer it and instantly hands it to Miguel. "What do you want?" "To be where I need to be," responds the voice, and Miguel throws it down again, and this goes on for days, until finally there's a knock at the door. When Miguel opens the door, there stands Lee, and Miguel looks at him. "Are you the man that's been trying to contact me?" he says, and Lee walks in like he owns the place. "Yes, I've been trying to contact you, but now I am where I need to be." "So, what's your name?" he says, and Lee looks at Miguel. "My name is Lee. I am whoever I want to be, wherever I'm needed, like I've told you at least, 1,000 times now? Like I've told everybody. I don't know why everyone keeps asking me who I am. This answer will never change." And so Miguel stares at him. "What's your game? What are you doing?" "I want your organization. I want your organization that you've built. I want to take it and I want to build it better, make it better. You've done a good job in 7 months, but you are an amateur. So I'm gonna make a deal for you. Instead of buying this organization with money, how about I just tell you exactly where Jin Kazuma is and you can have your revenge, says Lee, now sitting down very comfortably on a nearby chair. So Miguel stares at him. You tell me where I can find Jin Kazuma, and the organization is yours. And so Lee smiles, raises a hand for a handshake, and they shake hands. Lee smiles. You're the first person to actually shake my hand, he says as he stands up and tells Miguel that he must first take out Eddie Gordo. And once he takes out Eddie Gordo, to give him a call. And then, and only then, can he go and take out Jin Kazama. He used to have 2 bodyguards, but one of them I believe is dead, and so now it's just Eddie Gordo. You can find him at the 3rd district of the Mishima Zaibatsu. Here's a picture of him, and when you take him out, give me a call. I'll tell you exactly where to find Jin Kazama. And so Miguel takes the picture and gives the underground organization he had spent the last 7 months building to Lee. When Miguel arrives at the location, he sees the man in the picture, Eddie Gordo, giving commands and running this 3rd district of the Mishima Zaibatsu. And so Miguel scouts the area and watches Eddie for days until Eddie is finally alone in an office. And due to his scouting, he knows that Eddie's going to be alone for quite some time and decides to make his move slowly, quietly, sneaking through the Mishima Zaibatsu District number 3, snapping the necks of soldiers that have no idea he's there. And when he makes it into the office, he goes right through the door as Eddie is sipping on a drink. And Eddie looks at him. Who are you? He says, and Miguel responds, don't worry about it. I'm here to kill you, says Miguel. So Eddie rises. All right, give it a shot. Try it out, see what happens. And so now these two are about to fight, and I had debated over and over and over if I wanted to cover this fight in Eddie's story or Miguel's story, but it is going to be covered right now in Miguel's story, and I will cover it a little bit more in Eddie's story. So these two engage in battle. However, Miguel does not expect the type of fighter that Eddie is. Eddie is one of the most incredible fighters in the Tekken franchise. His moves are so unpredictable unless you know what to expect from him. And so, when you go into this scenario, Miguel has never met Eddie, has never fought Eddie. He doesn't know what to expect. He doesn't know the consistent spinning of those legs that Eddie is capable of receiving, and the fight begins. Eddie dives over his desk, and when he lands on his hands instead of his feet, and does a straight spear kick with his feet in the air, holding himself up on his hands directly to Miguel, nailing him right in the face. And then Eddie rotates his body and brings his legs downwards, sweeping with tremendous force Miguel off the ground, slamming the head of Miguel into the ground with his body rotating with tremendous force. Eddie then spins forward in a somersault, bringing his heel down directly towards the neck of Miguel. However, Miguel manages to roll away, dodging it mere seconds before it hit him. And then Miguel stands up, but Eddie doesn't. Eddie stays in a weird laying position, and so Miguel charges to get on top of Eddie, but then Eddie just rockets himself, propelling him with his hands, legs straight up, directly into Miguel, and they go flying through the wall of the office, now in the hallway of the Mishima Zaibatsu. And Eddie is bouncing off the walls, using his hands and his feet, doing amazing, very powerful sweep kicks. These kicks are the most powerful kicks in the Tekken franchise, even with Her Wang. And so Miguel's blocking him, but they're hurting his hands. And also, being in such a tight hallway, Miguel doesn't have a whole lot of prediction of where the strikes are going to go. And so Eddie is throwing palm strikes, but the majority of them are swinging kicks that he is using the wall to propel them off of, just destroying Miguel, kicking him down. They finally hit a flight of stairs, and Eddie Gordo does a jumping back flip, and then right before he lands, extends his legs, connecting upright into the jaw of Miguel, sending Miguel falling and flipping, twirling down the staircase. When Miguel lands the ground, he can feel bones broken, but he gets back up, and Eddie is flying down the stairs and bounces off the railing, swinging a roundhouse kick. This time Miguel dodges it and then catches Eddie in midair and slams him to the ground, but does not let go of Eddie, and picks him back up and slams him into the ground again, picks him back up, and then slams him into the wall. With Eddie in the air, he starts delivering punches to the gut of Eddie, pinning Eddie in the air against the wall, with just uppercut after uppercut getting delivered to him by Miguel. And so Eddie is now struggling and manages to flip over Miguel, getting around Miguel, flipping his own body over the shoulders of Miguel, landing, and now they face off once again. Miguel then charges at Eddie and just gives him a straight up push, a normal push. However, from Miguel, this push sends Eddie flying through the wall, and he goes into the kitchen of the Mishima Zaibatsu District Number 3, and Miguel follows and delivers a massive Spartan chamber kick to the chest of Eddie right as Eddie rises, sending Eddie flying across the kitchen. Miguel then grabs a knife off the kitchen countertop and lunges it towards Eddie, spearing it with tremendous power. Eddie manages to dodge it and grabs a frying pan and smacks it across the head of Miguel. These two then engage in grappling, where they are slamming each other into the oven, into the counters, into the sinks, into everything they can slam each other into the kitchen, destroying this kitchen, fighting back and forth, and all Miguel can think about is how he needs to win this fight so that he can get the coordinates of Jin Kazuma and avenge his sister. And so, as they are fighting, Miguel's getting stronger and stronger, faster and faster, and far more passionate than Eddie is, because Eddie's doing this for money and Miguel is doing this for his sister. And so the fight rages on, and now they are going through room after room and destroying each other through these walls, throwing each other through walls as they fight throughout the entire Mishima Zaibatsu. And every Tekken 4 soldier that tries to get in the way, Miguel manages to one punch down, and then continues fighting Eddie Gordo. Miguel finally picks up Eddie Gordo over his head and throws him out the Mishima Zaibatsu window, and Miguel falls into the ocean right outside of the Mishima Zaibatsu, and Miguel, assuming Eddie's dead, leaves and calls Lee, telling Lee that he took out Eddie Gordo. Lee seems somewhat shocked, and this annoys Miguel. Wow, you actually did it. Well, here's the coordinates to Jin Kazuma, and he's getting ready to take off in a jet. You better hurry, says Lee. And so Miguel rushes to the coordinates given to him by Lee. When Miguel makes it to the coordinates given to him by Lee, Jin Kazuma is already on the jet, running into the jet, and Miguel begins to chase him. It's as if Jin Kazuma was expecting him, and this shouldn't happen. Miguel wonders if he was betrayed by Lee, but he doesn't care. And Tekken 4 soldiers end up running towards Miguel as Miguel is chasing Jin Kazuma. Jin Kazuma finally makes it on the jet, and as the jet is taking off, Miguel continues running after it with Tekken Force soldiers just multiplying and multiplying, and there's hordes of Tekken Force soldiers surrounding Miguel. And Miguel dives in the air trying to grab onto the jet before it takes off, but he misses just barely, and the jet flies away. And the Tekken Force soldiers then all tackle Miguel. As they're all on top of him, punching him, he uses nothing but pure brute force as he stands up and extends his arms, throwing them all over the place, blasting every Tekken Force soldier off of him with tremendous strength. And as he watches the jet take off, Jin looks through the window at Miguel, and Miguel flips him the middle finger and promises that he is going to find that son of a bitch. And so Miguel leaves before the Tekken 4 soldiers have a chance to get back up. And now we're going into the Tekken 7 events. Now, in the Tekken 7 events, Miguel is quite literally just roaming the world, doing his own thing, fighting as many people as he can. However, years have passed since he failed to find Jin Kazuma. And in Miguel's travels, he sees a man with a hood roaming a desert land. And he goes to see if this man needs help. However, when he brings the hood down, it is no other than Jin Kazuma. And Miguel stares at him, saying, "This is my day. This is when you die." And Jin looks at him, confused. And Miguel's annoyed and angry. "You do not recognize me?" says Miguel. "No, I guess you wouldn't recognize me. But you're about to remember who I am, and I'm going to be the last face you see," he says as he stares at Jin, and they engage in battle, and unfortunately, I have to cover this fight in Jin Kazuma's story. So, that is all I have to say for today. That is as much of Miguel's story that I could possibly do. I wanted to do a Miguel story. Now, there's no way I could have done a multiple part story of Miguel. And just doing one video was really hard. I had to fill in so much empty space, or else this would have been like a 10-minute video at max. It would have been a 10-minute video. So, I wanted to make it longer. I wanted to fill in much, much more of Miguel's story, besides him just getting upset that his sister died, fighting Eddie, and then failing to capture Jin, and then fighting Jin. And I want their fight to be in Jin Kazuma's story. Actually, a lot of Miguel's scenes I want to be in other people's story, which made this a really hard video to make. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully I did not ruin any continuity with Tekken by doing a Miguel story, and I hope I did not ruin Miguel's character for anyone who's a fan of him. I tried really hard. There's just not a lot on the guy. And so with that being said, if you enjoyed, please do hit the like and subscribe button, and do not get hit by a meteor. Take care of yourselves, and bye.